The morning bell rang through the halls of Maplewood High, signaling the start of another ordinary day. Students shuffled through the crowded corridors, backpacks slung over shoulders, voices buzzing with weekend gossip and last-minute homework checks. And then there was Evelyn Carter. At 58, Evelyn moved through the chaos like a shadow, quiet, unnoticed. Her dark hands, calloused from years of labor, gripped the handle of her mop as she worked her way down the hallway. The students barely glanced at her. To them, she was just the janitor, the woman who cleaned up their messes without a word. But Evelyn didn't mind being invisible. In fact, she preferred it. Because Evelyn Carter had a secret. In room 207, Mr. Daniel Reeves, Maplewood's charismatic and slightly arrogant calculus teacher, leaned against his desk with a smirk. His class was filled with the school's top math students, kids who hung on his every word. "All right, future mathematicians," Reeves said, uncapping a marker with a dramatic flick. "Let's see who's actually been paying attention." He scrawled a monstrous calculus problem across the whiteboard, a tangle of integrals and derivatives that made half the class groan. Just then, Evelyn passed by the open door, pushing her cart. Reeves's eyes lit up with mischief. "Hey, Miss Carter," he called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Why don't you come solve this for us?" The class erupted in laughter. Evelyn stopped. Her grip tightened on the mop. Reeves grinned, waving her in. "Come on, don't be shy. I bet you're great with numbers, right?" More laughter. A few students shifted uncomfortably, but most just smirked, waiting for the joke to play out. Evelyn stepped inside. The room fell quiet as she walked to the board, her eyes scanning the equation. Reeves chuckled. "Take your time. It's a tough one." Evelyn picked up the marker, and then she solved it. Her hand moved with precision, each stroke confident, each step flawless. Numbers flowed like poetry. The laughter died. Reeves's smirk vanished. In less than a minute, the entire problem was solved. Perfectly. Evelyn placed the marker down and turned to Reeves. "Will that be all, Mr. Reeves?" Silence. The students stared. Reeves's mouth hung open. Without another word, Evelyn walked out, leaving behind a room full of stunned faces, and a teacher who had just made a very big mistake. The air in Maplewood High felt different after that day. Whispers slithered through the hallways like quiet currents, darting from locker to locker, classroom to classroom. "Did you hear?" The janitor solved Reeves's impossible problem, like it was nothing. Some students laughed it off. Maybe she just got lucky. But others watched Evelyn Carter with new eyes, curiosity flickering in their gazes. For Evelyn, nothing had changed. She still arrived before dawn, still mopped the floors with the same steady rhythm, still nodded politely when spoken to, but never lingered in conversation. But now, when she passed by, heads turned. In the teacher's lounge, Daniel Reeves slumped into an armchair, rubbing his temples. His colleague, Miss Lopez, raised an eyebrow as she poured herself coffee. "Rough day," Reeves let out a sharp laugh. "You could say that." "Let me guess," she said, stirring her coffee. "The legendary calculus problem?" His jaw tightened. "That janitor. Evelyn. She solved it in under a minute. Like it was basic arithmetic." Ms. Lopez paused. "And that bothers you because it doesn't make sense," Reeves hissed, keeping his voice low. "She's a janitor. She mops floors for a living. How the hell does she know advanced calculus?" Across the room, Mr. Thompson, the elderly history teacher, glanced up from his newspaper. His voice was calm, but there was something knowing in his tone. "Maybe you should ask her." Reeves scoffed. "Right. Like I'm going to chase down the cleaning lady for a math lesson." Ms. Lopez studied him for a long moment before shaking her head. "You know, Daniel, sometimes the most interesting people are the ones we never bother to see." Meanwhile, in the back of the school library, two students huddled over a laptop. "Look, I'm telling you, there's no way she just guessed," Jason whispered, scrolling through a calculus forum. "That problem was insane. Even the AP kids couldn't solve it." His friend, Maya, chewed her lip. "Then how'd she do it?" Jason hesitated. "What if she's, like, some kind of genius?" Maya snorted. "Yeah, right. Geniuses don't end up mopping floors." But Jason wasn't laughing. He was staring at Evelyn through the library window as she emptied the trash cans outside, her movements slow but deliberate. There was something about her, the way she carried herself, the quiet focus in her eyes, that didn't fit the mold of someone who'd spent her life cleaning up after others. "Maybe," he said softly. "We just don't know her story." Evelyn felt their eyes on her. She always had. Years of being overlooked had sharpened her awareness. The way Reeves stiffened when she passed him in the hall. The hushed conversations that died when she entered a room. She knew what they were saying. Knew they were wondering. But she had no interest in their questions. That night, as she locked up the supply closet, a voice stopped her. "Ms. Carter?" She turned. A girl, Maya, stood there, shifting nervously. The girl swallowed. "I was there, in Mr. Reeves's class, when you solved that problem." Evelyn waited. Maya took a deep breath. "How did you do that?" For the first time in years, Evelyn hesitated. The answer was heavy, buried under decades of silence. But something in the girl's eyes, not mockery, not pity, just curiosity, made her pause. She studied Maya for a long moment before speaking. "Because," she said quietly, "I've solved harder." And with that, she walked away, leaving Maya standing in the dim hallway, questions burning in her chest. The next morning, Reeves stormed into the principal's office. "We need to talk about Evelyn Carter." Principal Hawkins sighed. "Daniel, if this is about the calculus problem—" "It's about lying," Reeves snapped. "There's no way she's just a janitor. Who is she, really?" Hawkins leaned back in his chair, folding his hands. "Why does it matter?" "Because if she's some kind of math whiz, why is she here? Why isn't she teaching? Or working somewhere important?" The principal studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a faded newspaper clipping. "Because life doesn't always go the way it should," he said quietly, sliding the article across the desk. Reeves picked it up, and his blood ran cold. The headline stared back at him in bold print. "Promising mathematician Evelyn Carter withdraws from MIT after family tragedy." Beneath it was a photo. A younger Evelyn, her eyes bright, her smile full of hope. Reeves's hands trembled. Principal Hawkins's voice was soft. "Ask yourself, Daniel, before you judge someone's life, do you really know what they've survived?" The fluorescent lights of Maplewood High buzzed softly as Evelyn pushed her cart down the empty hallway. Dawn had barely broken, painting the linoleum floors in pale streaks of gold. She liked these quiet hours before the students arrived, when the school was still hers, when the echoes of laughter and slamming lockers hadn't yet filled the space. But this morning, the silence felt heavier. She knew they were talking about her. Knew the whispers had spread like wildfire after that day in Reeves's classroom. She could see it in the way students hesitated before laughing near her, in the way teachers glanced at her a second too long. And then there was Maya. The girl had been hovering near the janitor's closet for days, her curiosity practically vibrating off her. Evelyn had seen that look before, the hunger for answers, the need to understand. It was the same look she'd once worn long ago. With a sigh, Evelyn turned the corner and froze. Daniel Reeves stood outside her supply closet, his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Reeves cleared his throat. "I read the article." Evelyn's fingers tightened around her cart. "Did you—" His jaw worked. "I didn't know." A bitter smile tugged at Evelyn's lips. "Of course you didn't." The words hung between them, sharp and heavy. 25 years earlier, the letter had arrived on a Tuesday. "Dear Ms. Carter, congratulations. You've been accepted to MIT's graduate mathematics program with full funding." Evelyn had screamed, spinning in her tiny apartment kitchen, the paper clutched in her hands. Her mother had laughed, wiping flour-dusted hands on her apron before pulling her into a crushing hug. "You're going to change the world, Evie," she whispered. But the world had other plans. 3 weeks before her flight to Boston, the phone rang. A car accident, a drunk driver, a funeral instead of a farewell party. And just like that, Evelyn was alone, with a younger brother to raise and bills piling up. MIT became a phantom, a dream folded carefully into the back of a drawer, replaced by night shifts and second jobs. The equations never left her, though. They lived in the margins of grocery lists, on napkins during coffee breaks, in the quiet hours when the house was finally asleep. But no one saw them. No one looked. Back in the present, Reeves shifted uncomfortably. "Principal Hawkins said you were offered a teaching position here, years ago." Evelyn's voice was quiet. "I was. Why didn't you take it?" She met his gaze then, and for the first time, Reeves saw the fire behind her calm exterior. "Because people like you don't see women like me as teachers. You see us as invisible." The words landed like a blow. Maya couldn't stop thinking about it. She'd spent all night researching old math journals, archived competition results. The deeper she dug, the more stunned she became. Evelyn Carter hadn't just been good at math. She'd been revolutionary. Her undergraduate thesis on fractal geometry was still cited in papers, and Maplewood High had her cleaning toilets. Something hot and fierce rose in Maya's chest. This wasn't right. This wasn't fair. She slammed her laptop shut. Reeves found her in the parking lot after school. Evelyn didn't look up as his shadow fell across her cart. "Come to fire me?" "No." His voice was rough. "I came to apologize." That made her pause. He ran a hand through his hair. "I was arrogant, cruel, and I want to make it right." Evelyn studied him. "Why?" "Because Maya showed me your paper on nonlinear PDEs." He shook his head in disbelief. "It's brilliant, and it's criminal that you're not teaching it." For the first time in decades, Evelyn felt something unfamiliar. Hope. No one expected the announcement. When Principal Hawkins called the entire school into the auditorium, rumors flew. Was it a budget cut? A scandal? Then Evelyn Carter walked on stage. The murmurs died instantly. Hawkins's voice rang out clear and strong. "Starting today, Miss Carter will be co-teaching our advanced mathematics courses alongside Mr. Reeves." The silence was deafening. Then one student began to clap. Then another. and another, until the entire auditorium erupted in applause so loud it shook the walls. Maya cheered the loudest. 1 year later, the letter arrived on a Tuesday. Dear Professor Carter, congratulations! Your research has been selected for the prestigious. Evelyn smiled, tracing the embossed lettering with her finger. Across the classroom, her students, worked diligently on their proofs. At the back of the room, Reeves caught her eye and gave her a small, respectful nod. Outside, the autumn leaves swirled in the breeze, golden and bright, like second chances dancing on the wind. Thanks for watching.